This has to do with the election of Donald Trump, and I wanted to introduce this Twitter account, Donald Trump Defense. And he has said that he's a young American who understands the election results. And he has also said that Hillary Clinton was crooked. Now let me show you what I tweeted him this morning. If I can get there. Okay. No, I'm going to have to do this all over again. Okay, here we are. This is what I tweeted on my social media to Slick's Tweets. I wanted him to tell me why Donald Trump did not admit that the United States Constitution is not in effect, and because of that, there is no way that the Electoral College can vote him in. And I showed him and everyone else on my social media what I had written to the Electoral College, to Mr. David Ferriero. And I asked him, Mr. Ferriero, as the United States Congress has suspended the Constitution of 1789 by declaring a state of emergency, and this link will show you how that's done every single year. It's been done since 1871, which is when the Revolutionary War debts became due. And I also said that in the law, it says that the provisions of the Constitution govern. So, therefore, when the ministers of Finance and Development on the Board of Governors of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, who administer the monetary gold reserves of the United States, and I've told him what the treaty is that was signed in 1950 by General Eisenhower and also by President Truman. I say that now I am the person who votes the shares of the United States on the Board of Governors of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund during this period of interregnum until the Constitution of 1789 goes back into effect. And the way this is going to happen is via Article 5. And what happened when Anton Scalia was murdered was he was trying to put that into effect, I believe, and that was when he was murdered and flown out of Texas before there could be an autopsy to see what his cause of death was, whether it was natural or not. So then I'm saying to Mr. Ferriero, who is the person who triggers the Electoral College process, the Secretaries of State of 10 states in which the Federal Reserve banks are located have filed, and that's the technical term of when the Fed owes the United States, they issued bonds and they now are in debt for $2 quadrillion. And so I'm saying that since the Fed owes us more than we owe them, the Federal Reserve is now bankrupt. The Board of Governors has informed Illinois' Secretary of State that he had no authority to attempt to invalidate the financing statement, which was duly filed against the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. And then I'm showing links to the letters that I wrote to all of the ministers of Finance and Development, because when the Secretary of State of Illinois said that we had no right to file that financing statement, they were wrong, and the ministers of Finance and Development cleared my letter telling the Secretary of State of Illinois that he had to put that financing statement back into effect. I say the Federal Reserve banks are insolvent and are being wound down in the global debt facility. On behalf of the Board of Governors of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, I have informed Germany and Japan that the monetary gold reserves of the United States in the global debt facility are being deployed to enable the United States to fulfill its treaty obligations in defense of Germany and Japan. And this, if you click on that link, when you get this document, you will find my letter to the military attaches in Washington, Germany, and Japan. And on the 22nd of July, I posted this on the internet. I say that the Universal Postal Union was established in 1874. That's 3 years after the bankers stole our Constitution from us. The Universal Postal Union was established 3 years after the U.S. Constitution of 1789 was replaced by a second secret constitution foisted on it when the Revolutionary War debts fell due. The second secret constitution was not ratified and was not signed. Benjamin Franklin renegotiated the Revolutionary War debts in the Treaty of Paris in 1783 to fall due in 1871. And then I say the truth is more than just an option, and this went to the Universal Postal Union. Yesterday, I told Bishar A. Hussein, Director General of the Universal Postal Union International Bureau, that until the United States monetary gold reserves are deployed in the global currency reset that was agreed by 188 ministers of finance more than 2 years ago, Megan Brennan, Postmaster General of the U.S., is committing mail fraud. There has been a discussion in the blogosphere about how the bankers replaced the Constitution of 1789. People are having a hard time accepting the extent of the corruption in the international financial system. The disconnect between the false reality that has been perpetuated by the bankers who use fake paper money to buy up our media and politicians and the truth is hard for many people. We have discussed yesterday how to bridge this gap. Fortunately, once enough people see through the scam, it is impossible to sustain the deception. We are on a one-way street to the global currency reset. Why is the Republican convention failing to discuss the single biggest issue facing the United States? Don't worry, enough people see through this fake matrix. And then I say the network of global corporate control is unraveling. That's the name that 3 mathematicians in the Federal Institute of Technology, which is a college in Zurich, Switzerland, they published a paper showing how the central banks and 43,000 other companies whose shares are traded on the capital markets are actually all interconnected by just one company. And then I say the power transition model that came to the World Bank in 2004 and which has a 90 to 95% record of accuracy is predicting that there are coalitions in place to end this corruption. I am attaching more on the power transition model at the end. And then I sent this to somebody who had written to me about the confusion about the constitutions in Washington, D.C. Okay. This was what I was writing to her, and this is what she wrote to me. Let me go back and give you the link to my letter to the defense attaches of Germany and Japan, because that is part of the power transition model. Okay, this went to Tomohiro Okubo at the Embassy of Japan, and also to Major Hans Perko, who is at the Embassy of Germany. And these are the references to our treaties for defending Japan and Germany. Please be informed that the United States is in interregnum, its Constitution of 1789 suspended by the U.S. Congress each year. The upcoming presidential elections in the U.S. cannot result in a legitimate regime, as the Electoral College will not be duly constituted. This state of affairs is public, and a coalition for the rule of law on the Board of Governors of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund that administers the nation's international monetary gold reserves pursuant to the bilateral Mansfield Breakthrough Successor Agreement of 1950 is now in charge. And this was signed, as I told you, by President Truman and General Eisenhower. This is in accord with the power transition model of the United States National War College. General Joseph Dunford Jr. attempted to plunge the world into World War III through his treasonous and corrupt attempt to steal the world's monetary gold reserves, rather than respecting the authority of the Board of Governors of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, so that there would be a peaceful means for a global currency reset at the end of the 50-year period of sequestration. That's another word for hiding. We put the assets of the global debt facility into hiding. That was Ferdinand Marcos, who was the lawyer, and Jose Rizal, who was then the superior general of the Society of Jesus, which is another word for the Jesuits, so that there would be a peaceful means for a global currency reset at the end of the 50-year period, as was designed by Jose Rizal when he issued his Declaration and Proclamation of the Gift of Love on January 3, 1949. And this will show you the minutes of the meeting that were signed in the Philippines. General Joseph Dunford Jr.'s crime and that of his accomplices is a matter of public record. And I'm showing you the way that General Dunford tried to steal the world's monetary gold reserves, which would have put us all in World War III. The Board of Governors of the World Bank and IMF have authorized me to exercise the voice and vote of the United States of America during this interregnum in the legitimate government of the United States until the Constitution of 1789 goes back into effect under an Article 5 convention. Courts have no jurisdiction in this matter as provided by that treaty that I was telling you about. The Network of Global Corporate Control, and this is the name of the three mathematicians at the Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich, have often referred to the banking cartel as the Network of Global Corporate Control, and this banking cartel is insolvent and is being wound down in the global debt facility that is administered by the Board of Governors and Development Committee of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund. Okay, that's the end of this.